Hello everyone, you welcome to this news hour. I am Bable Jonathan, broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital Douala. In our top stories in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, more than 20 persons killed by armed men in a Boni in Akwaya, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, close to the borders with neighboring Nigeria. After close to a month in captivity, Senator Regina Mundi is freed. A statement from the Ministry of Defense of the Republic of Cameroon says she was set free with other hostages during an operation in Ashong, Batibu, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Tobacco consumption, a leading cause of preventable death around the globe, killing more than 7 million people yearly. And anti-tobacco consumption organizations are calling for urgent action, and the World Health Organization also in view of preventing a global health catastrophe that could emanate from increasing tobacco consumption around the globe. We begin this newscast in Ebony village in Akwaya subdivision, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, where more than 20 persons have been killed by armed men in that part of the southwest region of the country. The reports streaming into our newsroom indicate that at least 24 persons were killed in an attack over the weekend, and the victims are said to be members of an assembly of the Apostolic Church in the Akwaya subdivision, and they were killed during that attack. The attackers ransacked the church and destroyed everything. Dead bodies were littered everywhere on the streets and around the incident area. Accusing fingers are pointing towards armed separatists in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, armed separatists who have been operating in those two English-speaking regions in security and socio-political tensions for close to 6 years. Today we'll be bringing to you more updates on this in subsequent news editions. And after a month in captivity, Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM political party's Senator Regina Mundi is now freed. A statement from the Ministry of Defense of the Republic of Cameroon, signed by the head of the Communication Department, Navy Captain Colonel Atonfak Cyril, says that she was set free with other hostages during an operation in Ashong village in Batibu, northwest region of the country. Details in this report compiled by Femi Armstrong Sander.
The information was released by Army spokesperson Captain Research Atonfak Ngemo in a widely shared social media press release. The head of the Communication Division of the Ministry of Defense in Cameroon said Senator Elizabeth Regina Mundi was freed following a military operation that started on Sunday, May the 29th, 2022 and lasted till Monday morning. He said the military raided the locality of Ashong in Batibu subdivision of the Momo division, freeing the 80-year-old senator and several other hostages. His release, however, failed to give the exact number and identities of the other hostages freed alongside Senator Regina Mundi Elizabeth. In the same release, Cyril Search Atonfa Ngemo said at least a dozen separatists were killed as they engaged the military in a gun battle. This operation, according to him, also led to the recovery of several weapons and ammunition from non-state armed groups. Mundi Elizabeth was picked alongside her driver on the 30th of April 2022 around Foncha Street in the northwest regional chieftain Bamenda by armed separatist fighters who claimed responsibility a few days later. A social media video of her in captivity went viral, in which she announced her resignation from the Senate and requested the release of separatist leaders before May the 20th or she be killed. This and related incidents generated widespread calls for her release from across the board to the ranks of the Archbishop of the Bamenda Archdiocese. Observers, however, question if and why this call and energy is lacking in the case of His Royal Highness Von Kevin Yakum of Bambalen, Northwest Regional Assembly's Vice President, abducted and held incommunicado since the 7th of December 2021. In a Kondutiti subdivision, Njan division of the Southwest region, the whereabouts of 5 divisional delegates remains unknown since Tuesday, June the 15th, 2021. 6 of them were abducted, 1 got executed, and 5 others are still unaccounted for 15 days to 1 year.
And images streaming into our newsroom show celebration at the home of Senator Regina Mundi in Bamenda after she was reunited with her family following her liberation during an operation by soldiers of the Rapid Intervention Battalion, particularly in the Ashong in Batibu in the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and several personalities, friends, and of course well-wishers converged on the home of Regina Mundi today to receive her. And among all those who converged there, the Archbishop of the Bamenda Metropolitan Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church, President of the Episcopal Conference of Cameroon, Archbishop Andrew Kia. Listen to His Grace in this report.
As a Christian community, for the release of Mama Regina Mundi, and the news came to us as a big sign of relief. We're very, very happy because God has answered our prayers, and we had been praying and praying that she should not be sick, she should be healthy, and she should be in good spirits. And seeing her in good spirits and looking healthy, that even added to our joy. It is a very significant thing for us because the coming back of Mama to meet her children in the house and to take care again of her grandchildren is a sign of hope, that there is no situation that is hopeless. And while this crisis lasts, we continue to pray that hope should not be far from us, and we know that our hope will not deceive us. We know that sooner or later things will come back to normal. Also for me, this is a big sign.
The Archbishop of the Bamenda Metropolitan Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church and President of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon, His Grace Andrew Kia, speaking there after receiving Senator Regina Mundi at her home in the Northwest Regional Chief Town Bamenda, and the Governor of the Northwest Region, Adolphe Lafrique, was equally there, as well as the head of the military, the 5th Military Region and the 5th Gendarmerie Region, who were all there to receive Senator Regina Mundi. Will be bringing to you the first statements of the Senator in a short while. Time for us to go over to the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon, where 4 persons have been arrested and are currently in detention. The 4 have been blamed for forcing a 20-year-old girl to abort fetus, and the little girl, the young girl, was about 20 months pregnant when she aborted the child. Details in this report by Smanji Kangebe.
Inhabitants of Gutela village in Kaile, far north region, scared away upon the arrival of the forces of law and order to their locality. The team of gendarmes headed by the commander of the Kaile Brigade, Abakachi Saidu, came to Gutala village after they were informed about a 20-year-old girl who aborted an 8-month-old pregnancy. With the aid of the village head, who was paid 400,000 francs CFA to keep a sealed lips, the aborted fetus was later found on a tree in a forest within Gutala village. According to Commander Bakachi Seidu, the 20-year-old girl was aided by some 2 elderly women of the village who were paid by the mother of the pregnant girl. After the discovery of the fetus, a search was done at the residence of the said family before the elements of the Gendarmerie Brigade of Kaile handed the fetus to doctors for it to be buried. Meanwhile, 4 persons, the lady who aborted the baby, the mother, alongside the 2 elderly women who did the abortion, have been arrested by security forces. Commander Bakachi Seidu has written to the divisional officer of Kaile to grant him access to also interrogate the chief of Gutele, who was allegedly given 400,000 francs CFA to keep his mouth shut.
Now to the Douala Central Market, where business persons are complaining and expressing concerns over the poor hygienic state of that market. They are calling on municipal authorities to take quick action to improve on the hygienic state of the area in which they are doing business practically on a daily basis. Mala Glory reports.
Darkness engulfed the market in broad daylight due to constant outage, exposing the businessmen to insecurity. Their securities further tempered with as the stairway enabling movement in and out of the market has swiftly become a shop. The selling of the pathway to an individual for the construction of this shop has provoked the traders to denounce this hideous act.
This is the only entrance that is left from Marseille Central in case of fire incident, that the sapper can come and rescue the people. People have invested a lot into this market that cannot just let go because of one single person, because he's being selfish. If the registrar was announced here to come and help the people, to serve the business people, he is to work with us here. Last night, Sunday night, we came here, construction was going on at night.
Most empty spaces in the Marché Central Market has been sold, says the traders, and used for the construction of other shops. The many shops, according to them, makes the market tight and not airy. The situation is further worsened as only one toilet is available for over 3,000 business persons.
Beginning of this market, we had 4 big toilets. He has sold 3. Only one is left for more than 3,000 business people. And the one toilet is not enough for everybody. What should we do? The prison in the market has been sold. Staircases have been sold. What should people do? The other entrances are blocked with shops.
The lack of telephone network in the market has also slowed down business, says the traders. The people protested, calling on the Douala City Mayor to let them out of these predicaments.
Now let's take a listen to the first words of Senator Regina Mundi after her liberation. Take a listen.
At the Bamenda airport here now.
Your Excellency and all the generals here present. There are times when a politician cannot talk much. As a teacher politician, I should not lack words, but there are times when the emotions are too heavy. I'm really overwhelmed with a concern for my release, starting from the presidency. In fact, I thank the head of state. I thank the governor. I thank all the generals and all the military people. As they say in pidgin, story long, time short. What I have seen in this month is not what we can talk here. But this country, this region is at war, real war. It is not easy. It is really difficult for the military. It is not easy. We shall have time to talk more. But just to let you know one thing, that our country is such that everyone is treated fairly and equally. There's a lady I travel with. I wish she were out of the car so the governor would have seen her out of the
Helicopter.
She was detained and harassed, and the military rescued her. So the military will rescue anybody. It's not just a senator that the military will go after to rescue. The military will rescue everybody. We met as prisoners. I didn't know her as such, but I know one thing: she is a Cameroonian.
Senator Regina Mundi speaking there after her release during an operation by soldiers of the National Armed Forces, as stated in a statement of the Ministry of Defense. Several students missed day one of the probatoire technique examination in the free subsystem of education in the Mongo Division Littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. In some of the centers we visited, the barrier measures of the COVID-19 were respected, and students urged to avoid examination malpractices. Smanjikan Gabriel has more.
It was examination day for students taking the probatoire technique in the Mongo Division. At the Government Technical High School in Konsamba, students went through a thorough search before getting into the examination center.
On va t'identifier comme en salle de cuisson. Le soir, tu cherches à mettre les cuissons sur ta tenue et tu brodes le nom. Nous avons mis l'accent sur...
We decided to search the kids because we don't want a situation where these kids will get into the hall with prepared materials. So it was better we stop them at the gate than to catch them with prepared materials.
Pour l'examen.
Barrier measures were also observed with students without face mask, given one by school authorities at the Government Technical High School in Konsamba. Out of the 681 candidates expected, 665 answered present, with 15 candidates absent. At Government Technical High School in Loom, almost the same exercise was done by examination officials. 5 candidates were absent out of the 522 who registered to sit in for the exams. Dispositions were taken to ensure that these kids take their examinations without any problem. The kids are well aware of what they are facing. The ambience is calm, even though we had a heavy downpour. The students are now looking up to God for success, notwithstanding a troubled academic year. During the academic year, we had so many disturbances, but thank God, our teachers fought hard to catch up so that we are not lost. I'm looking up to God to help me to succeed at the end. Other students used this opportunity to ask for modern equipment in their technical laboratories, which are lacking. We are pleading with the government to provide us with modern tools. The school is trying its best to provide us with the minimum, but the government really needs to come in to help us too. Just like in Konsamba, Loom was also hit by rains in the early hours of the day, but that didn't stop the candidates from appearing on day one of the probatoire technique examination in the Mongo Division.
Out of Cameroon, the first flight of Rwandans to Rwanda carrying migrants who cross the English Channel is set to leave in 2 weeks. time. And of course, this information has been released by the Home Office, indicating that the first flight to Rwanda will be taken off 14 June. Officials have begun issuing formal directions to the first people set to be relocated to the African country. It is expected there will be legal challenges against the move, and the controversial plan has been criticized by politicians and charities, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, who said it was ungodly. But the Home Secretary Priti Patel said the partnership with Rwanda was a key part of our strategy, or the country's strategy, to overhaul the broken asylum system and break the evil people smugglers business model. And this is where we end the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Now, statistics of Centers for Disease Control and Prevention indicate that smoking is the leading cause of preventable death around the globe. Worldwide, tobacco use causes the death of more than 7 million people per year. And according to experts, if the pattern of smoking all over the globe does not change, more than 8 million people will die a year from diseases related to tobacco use by 2030. And the World Health Organization says that 146,000 Africans die yearly from tobacco-related diseases. Globally, exposure to second-hand smoke kills more than 1.2 million people every year. And on the occasion of the World Day Against Tobacco Consumption, we are receiving today a young Ifang Caleb. He's the communication officer of the Africa Tobacco Control Alliance, ATCA. Eon, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Right, let's begin with the burden of tobacco consumption, particularly on the African continent, which is quite heavy.
Yes, thank you. You rightly said the World Health Organization has some very staggering statistics about tobacco use, and especially the number of people who die from tobacco every year. And like you said, while we have more than 7 million people dying from tobacco-related causes every year around the globe, we have more than 1 million people dying as well from second-hand smoke. So if you combine them, we already have more than 8 million people dying every year from tobacco-related causes. That's one thing we should know about tobacco globally. Also, tobacco is one of those products that kills half of all its users if consumed as intended by the producers of the product. So tobacco is sure to kill at least half of all those who consume it. And then another global statistic I can give you is that nearly 80% of the world's more than 1 billion smokers live in low and middle income countries. And of course, many of these countries are in Africa. In Africa itself, I can tell you that apart from the statistics you've given already, more than 22,000 women do die from tobacco attributable causes. And what is really painful about this is that these are preventable deaths. These are deaths that can be prevented, but because these women get to consume tobacco products, they get to die. And just imagine losing 22,000 women every year in the continent. And between 2002 and 2030, tobacco attributable deaths in Africa are projected to double if current trends are maintained, if we do not make efforts, to bring down the consumption rate of tobacco products. So you can imagine the statistics we are talking about now in Africa, and just you can imagine these figures doubling by 2030 if we do not act on the problem right now. It's a call for concern. We really must play our part to ensure we protect our populations from the devastating effects of tobacco.
Despite this heavy burden of tobacco consumption on health across the African continent, and despite the messages written on cigarette packets For example, in Cameroon, all the packets carry some message saying tobacco seriously damages your health. The consumption trend remains quite high and increasing.
Yes.
What can possibly explain this trend from your findings?
I think this trend is explained by the fact that the tobacco industry, tobacco companies, want people to consume their products. So we all know that tobacco and tobacco products contain a substance called nicotine, which is addictive and which will get you hooked to the product once you start consuming it. And so what the tobacco industry does, what these tobacco companies do, is they try to, as much as possible, get people initiated into the use of their products. They are sure that once you get initiated with nicotine in the products, you tend to stay. And what do they do to get people initiated? They start coming up with very stylish packs. They come up with, flavored tobacco products. Some fancy, they do some things that are very fancy that would attract people to their products. The industry also aggressively does a lot of marketing to children. Children are the principal target of tobacco companies today, because these children have a longer lifespan. Remember, we said a while ago that tobacco would kill half of its users. The tobacco industry wants people to always consume their products because they know that as more people die, they will need to recruit newer smokers. So they target these children, and I can tell you we have evidence from what the tobacco industry, in its own words, internal documents from these tobacco companies, saying, where they talk about marketing strategies, how they can actually target young children, and they talk about how daring the children are, and just how much profit they can make if these children are specifically targeted. So I think
there's another one. Talking about packaging, there's another one today known as shisha, the water pipes.
Yes.
We see even young people, children, smoking those the water pipes, which is said to be more destructive than the cigarette.
Yes, shisha is that's another degree of the problem. Shisha is heavily proliferated in Africa today. Almost in virtually every country in the continent, you would see shisha being consumed. And like you said, shisha is even more toxic than cigarettes. This is not to say that cigarettes are safer. It's not to say that some products are safer than other products. All tobacco products are harmful. All tobacco products are dangerous. All tobacco products will kill you. And for those who consume shisha, thinking it's milder, thinking it's tastier, thinking it's stylish, well, you are equally doing as much damage to yourself as consuming cigarettes. So shisha is not the solution. Shisha as well causes huge damages to your health.
Right. You're talking about tobacco companies who are, in quotes, initiating people and making efforts to bring more people on board the consumption of their products, despite the destruction that it brings to their health. Now, the question is how to make tobacco industries to clean up their mess, how to compel them to clean their mess. I know that's what your organization is working on. So what you people doing, and what else should be done to mount more pressure, to pile pressure on these companies to clean up the mess?
Okay, so this is a complex situation, because the first thing we need to understand is that tobacco is not an illegal product. So the best thing to do would simply be to say ban all tobacco companies from existing, stop the production of tobacco and all of that. But tobacco the tobacco companies exist legally. Their products are not illegal, but their products kill. So what we try to do is control these products. There is what we call the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and this is the first international treaty of the United Nations, of the World Health Organization, which has the backing of almost all countries in the world. It lays down guidelines, on how we can effectively, on how the tobacco companies can effectively operate without people dying as much as they currently die today. One thing I should say is that the tobacco industry claims that they are there to support public health. They claim that they want to help people quit cigarette smoking, yet they continue to produce their products. They continue to produce these cigarettes. Sometimes they ask people to switch. Their new technique now is they want people to switch to newer technology products. But remember, the tobacco industry is out to make profits. So they created a problem, cigarettes, and now they came up with a solution, which is newer technology products, electronic cigarettes, and they try to call it safer alternatives to smoking or to cigarettes.
And that's it.
You'll give the industry more money because you're still just buying their tobacco products. And these products, the industry claims that they are 95% safer, but clear research has shown that it is still too early to lay claims that these products are safer for consumption, because it is not just the cigarette smoke, which the tobacco industry says is toxic, but there are so many other components, and it will require a lot more time and a lot more research to determine the longer term effects of these products to the body. So and then, like we said, all tobacco products kill. In fact, I should even mention that there becomes a problem of dual consumption. People get to consume these products in an attempt to quit, and they end up still smoking cigarettes, because not only do these products and not only are these products addictive, they will not give you as much high as the cigarettes will give you, and then you tend to want to go back to what makes you comfortable, what gives you the high in the cigarettes. So these are all just tactics that the tobacco industry uses, to continue in its market. The industry is aware that at some point the cigarettes will have to be phased out. They know that very well. So what do they do? They start introducing other strategies, to keep themselves in the market, and they call it a safer way, to consume their products. What we can do is
right, and it's a paradox to hear those companies saying that they're supporting public health. When we know that their products have a serious death toll on the people across the globe. And the question the common man will be asking, why is it difficult to say, for Cameroon, for example, for an African country to say we are not accepting tobacco production on the land, on our territory. We ban it completely. And since this is not coming forth, another question that is arising is that the benefits or the taxes that the tobacco companies are paying more important than the health of the people?
Okay, these are two very interesting questions. The first one, why can we not just shun tobacco altogether? I said a while ago that tobacco is not an illegal product, so they have a right to exist. But what we can do, I talked about the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. This framework requires that countries that are signatories adopt laws that adequately protect their population from the devastating effects of tobacco. And since we're talking about Cameroon here, I can tell you in Cameroon there have been so many efforts to get a strong FCTC compliant law. When I talk about FCTC compliant law, I'm talking about a law that is as required by the tobacco, by the WHO Framework Convention on FCTC. It requires that we protect people from the dangers of smoking. We adequately inform people of the dangers of smoking. We raise taxes, which is what you said, on tobacco products. Because through taxes, the government not only gets revenue, but also gets enough resources to now fund tobacco control programs and to fund other actions that can help protect public health. Another measure is to completely ban the sale, the advertising, the promotion, and the sponsorship of tobacco products. And then another measure is to offer help for people to quit these tobacco products. And now in Cameroon, it's a very complex situation. Cameroon has made a very great effort. The country does not have a tobacco control law as of yet, and there continues to be a serious push for the laws to be taken. But Cameroon is taking steps to adopt other measures. You would agree with me that in Cameroon today, tobacco packs have, before it used to be, there are still some we understand that there are still some packs that still have textual text health warnings, but you find some cigarette packs today with images, not just the text warnings that say cigarettes seriously damages your health. Now we have images that actually show you the damages that can come as a result of these tobacco products, of cigarettes. This is because, first of all, textual health warnings are not effective. First of all, not everybody can read, not everybody can understand, but at least when you see it, you can easily tell that this is, you can easily gauge how dangerous the product can be. You talk about the taxes. The taxes we get from cigarettes, are they more important than the lives that these products cause? I think that because cigarettes and tobacco products will not kill you instantly, well, to some people it does kill instantly, or it does kill within a very short while. Of course, our human systems are not the same, so our systems will react differently to these products. So because people tend to not see people dying instantly as a result of consuming these products, they believe they don't really get to understand the gravity of the problems it will cause. But I can assure you that if we look at the taxes, first of all, these taxes are most of the time heavily underreported. There is evidence to that. And then most of the time, if you look at the amount of taxes that are collected, it is a fraction of what the government of Cameroon and many other African governments would spend, first of all, to build and equip hospitals that can take care of patients, with maybe lung cancer, other forms of cancer that will be developed as a result of smoking. If you look at the death, people that die because they are smoking, they cannot be replaced. When people are sick, it affects the input.
It affects the country's manpower.
In terms of manpower, people cannot go to work. The financial burden, even on the family, the person who is sick spends a lot of money going to the hospital for treatment and all of that. So it's a whole chain, and all of this, we are the ones who go ourselves and buy these products, and that's why I say the burden is preventable. But if we can just respect what the WHO Framework Convention says on tobacco control says, we will do a lot in solving this problem. The question about taxes, the WHO recommends that we raise taxes to at least 70% of the retail price of the products. That is an effective way of ensuring that the prices have an impact on consumption. Because if you just do a normal ad valorem tax, what the tobacco industry does is they will just push the tax to the consumer, and since they know that their products are, very they are likely going to be consumed, the consumers will still buy.
Right, and the theme this year is focusing on the
prices become very, 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 very high, that it becomes unaffordable, or it becomes difficult to afford for maybe the young people, and just the man on the streets will have a real impact on the consumption.
Right, and the theme this year is focusing on the impact of tobacco production on the environment, and that is why there are suggestions that governments and policymakers should support tobacco farmers to switch to alternative, more sustainable livelihoods to reduce the environmental impact of tobacco growing, curing, and manufacturing, while continuing to implement tobacco control measures across the world. One word on these, Ayon, before we go.
Yes, thank you very much. This is a very important point. World Tobacco Day 2022 looks at tobacco being a serious threat to the environment. Now, we've talked about the burden, the health, and we touched a little bit on the economic burden. But imagine this. Tobacco farming requires the cutting down of so many trees, deforestation. When the tobacco is planted, it damages the soil, and you can't plant other crops for a long period of time. When tobacco is being manufactured, there is a lot of toxins that go into the atmosphere. When tobacco products are consumed, there's a lot of carbon dioxide emissions that also go to destroy the atmosphere. So you can imagine, and then there's the problem of disposal of these tobacco products. You can imagine the billions of tobacco cigarette butts that litter the streets all around. So apart from the, if I can let you know that every year globally, about 6 billion tons of water is used every year to make cigarettes. About 6 billion tons of water. Hundreds of thousands of trees are cut down every year. And millions of tons of carbon dioxide are emitted into the atmosphere. So this tobacco farming, tobacco cultivation, tobacco growing, it damages every aspect of the tobacco life cycle, from its manufacturing to its transformation to its production. There is a lot of damages to the environment, and you can imagine all these damages added to the health burden we've talked about. There is need for us to act, and like you said, Babila, we can ask government can actually ask support alternative livelihoods, because when we switch to alternative livelihoods, we are limiting the number of the amount of tobacco that is cultivated, and fewer tobacco.
We have exhausted our time. Ayon Ifan Caleb, Communication Officer of the African Tobacco Control Alliance. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe Television. Goodbye.